Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast, episode 20. Today we're going to do something a little different because we're just celebrating. It's our 20th episode. And I want to just discuss an article from the internet that I saw, because when I read it, it inspired me and it reminded me of a lot of the work that I do with clients either in my office at Gay Therapy LA in Los Angeles or online when I do webcam or phone sessions. And there are a lot of website articles in particular that I read in my leisure time that get stuck in the back of my head, and then they come out as points of discussion when I'm working with clients. I'm kind of a film history and TV history buff and general history buff, and so I draw on a lot of cultural things, and you never know when I'm going to draw on something that's part of cultural literacy, I guess, and apply it to a problem that a client is working on with me. And one of those sources, it could be anything. It could be an episode of The Golden Girls, for example, or it could be a song from a Broadway musical, things I'm really kind of passionate about. But it also can be internet articles. So I want to introduce you to an article that you may or may not have seen. This is from Pocket, which is kind of an online clearinghouse, I think, for articles. The website is getpocket.com, and the name of the article is "The Strongest Predictor of Men's Well-Being Isn't Family or Health. What Makes Men Happy." This is by a woman named Leah Fessler. I like the name Leah. That's my niece's name. But Leah Fessler from Quartz, another online journalism source, got this article for Pocket.com. So I want to read you a little bit of it as we go through and discuss how I'm seeing this in helping guys that I work with, particularly with career coaching and what I call men's well-being. I kind of have this joke in my practice: I'm the agent of your mental health and well-being. The big cigar-chomping Hollywood agent of old times? He'll take care of you. And I kind of see myself that way. I'm your advocate, and your supporter. And that's one of the many roles that I have as a therapist and coach, is to be your advocate. And that's especially true when I'm working with guys on their career. I do a lot of career coaching to guys in LA and really all over the country and all over the world. So this article really spoke to that, and it was about, especially from a men's life coaching standpoint, what is men's well-being? Now, this article says the stronger predictor of men's well-being isn't family or health, so what is it? So we'll get to that. Let me read you a little bit from the first paragraph. As feminism is increasingly defined as liberation for all genders, meaning trans people too, definitions of masculinity continue to shift away from traditionally, and many would argue, toxic norms. Now, I wrote a blog article on toxic masculinity. If you're interested more on my take on that, that's on gaytherapyla.com. Just go to the blog tab and search for toxic masculinity, and it'll get you there. So, long characterized by physical strength, emotional repression, and sociocultural power, masculinity is being redefined by many of today's most influential men to include traits like compassion, sensitivity, honesty, and empathy. Okay, so when I hear that from Leah Fessler, I'm reminded immediately of the fitness guys that I follow on Instagram, both to see their pretty pictures and also for some of the inspirational things they say, and for the example they set about kind of living your best life, particularly with fitness, but it could be other things too. I'm reminded of people like Nimai Delgado or John Venus, who are on Instagram as vegan bodybuilders. So here are these guys who are putting forth kind of a traditional symbol of masculinity, of the muscular, fit body, with all the aesthetics related to that, which gay men and straight women tend to appreciate, and also the idea of compassion. These guys are embracing masculinity as really professional bodybuilders, but they demonstrate the compassion and sensitivity and the empathy by not eating animals to do it. Now, I'm not vegan, but I'm kind of a sympathizer because I'm really impressed by the compassion that's involved in that and the commitment to compassion that involves. Let's get back to the article. So, in the midst of the changing trend, it feels all the more essential to ask, what makes men happy? To answer this question, the men's grooming company Harry's partnered with University College London psychologist John Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, co-founder of the male psychology section of the British Psychological Society, to conduct one of the most comprehensive studies of American masculinity on record. So it's a British guy studying American masculinity. So the 2018 Harry's Masculinity Report, as it's titled, surveyed 5,000 men ages 18 to 95 across the United States, weighted for race, income, education, and sexual orientation, good for them, military service, and more. The respondents were asked about their happiness, confidence, emotional stability, motivation, optimism, and sense of being in control. They were then asked how satisfied they are with their careers, relationships, money, work-life balance, physicality, and mental health, and also about the values that matter most to them. So you see how this really falls in line with what I'm working with guys on a lot as clients. We talk about what are your values, and then we talk about in life coaching the pieces of the pie. You know, each domain of your life is a piece of the pie. I talk about this in my book, Self-Empowerment, Have the Life You Want, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. Available on Amazon, and that's the end of the plug, I swear. Anyway, but we looked at these slices of the pie, career, relationship, money, work-life balance, health, mental health. And the results, going back to the article, the results showed a clear trend. The strongest predictor of men's happiness and well-being is, ta-da, their job satisfaction by a large margin. And the strongest predictor of job satisfaction is whether men feel they are making an impact on their company's success. Now, I take this a bit further because in LA, we don't have a lot of Fortune 500 companies. I work with a lot of guys who, you know, they can work for big companies, but a lot of times they're working for themselves. They're solo entrepreneurs. And so making an impact on your company's success, we can kind of infer that that could also be your self-employment success as an independent sole practitioner professional like me, or I'm kind of the leader of a group practice. But, you know, Gay Therapy LA is Ken Howard, and Ken Howard is Gay Therapy LA. It's kind of, I am my own brand. But I work with a lot of guys who are their own brand also, as designers, or as writers, or as actors, or as tax accountants. I mean, you know, there's a lot of independent businesses represented in my practice. This measure, the study finds, is influenced by whether men feel they are using their own unique talents at work, whether they are surrounded by a diverse set of perspectives, how easily and often they can chat with coworkers, whether they feel their opinions are valued, and whether they're inspired by the people they work with. Now, this is a big one that I talk about with clients because in my belief system, I really believe at my old age that being inspired by other people is a source of energy. It's like plugging your phone into, you know, its, power charger. But the people who inspire us may differ from person to person. You know, I get inspiration from people in music, people in theater and film, some people in politics. You know, Stevie Nicks is one of the people I really admire. She's known for doing this great charitable work where she has visited injured soldiers at the Walter Reed Army Hospital in D.C. And back in the day, I guess before iPhones and stuff and Apple Music or whatever, she gave them iPods that were loaded with her music, sure, but music of others, and she would sit on the beds of the injured soldiers and talk to them, and they would try to figure out who she was. No, I'm teasing, but, you know, can you imagine the compassion involved in doing that? Or Kristen Davis from Sex and the City fame does work with endangered elephants. You know, made a lot of money on Sex and the City, doesn't really have to work all that much probably as an actor or an actress, whatever you want to say. So she helps elephants. You know, Franklin Roosevelt, who helped us through the Depression and the Second World War. Or I think Barack Obama. I think he brought a lot of compassion and inspired a lot of people, particularly young people of color. Think of the LGBT people who have inspired us, like Oscar Wilde in literature, or Gus Kenworthy, the Olympic athlete, or James Baldwin, the African-American author. Just so many people. There are countless LGBT people, who inspire us. So let's move on with the article a little bit. These results align with Harry's 2017 survey of 2,000 men in the UK, also led by this Barry guy, which similarly found that satisfying, secure employment is the strongest predictor of British men's positive mindset. So we got the American guys, we got the Yanks over here, and then we got the Brits over the pond. And in both cases, for men and their well-being, they are citing secure employment. She goes on to say, men who have high job satisfaction are very likely to be content in other aspects of their life, the report says. Men at work, she's quoting, are more likely to be men at ease with themselves. Everything else, contentment at home, in relationships, and friendships, flows down from men being satisfied at work. Following job satisfaction, the top indicators of a positive mindset and wellness for American men are, in descending order, their physical and mental health, income. I have a number of articles on gay therapy about increasing your income by way of therapy and coaching. So that would be independent from like a financial planner. There's a role for increasing your income as a focus in therapy and coaching. Age. Men over age 50 were significantly happier, especially in the U.S. Midwest. So guys like me, over 50, are we happy? Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think my 50s are kind of more mellow and easier to deal with than my 40s when we're all going through this midlife stuff. Many of the guys that I work with in my practice are in their 40s and coping with midlife challenges. Midlife crisis, I think, is a little bit oversimplified, but certainly midlife transitions. And then I also work with young guys who are just trying to, it's like the Saturn V rocket going to the moon. You're just trying to launch from being, the boy and the adolescent and the student that you were to being the fresh young professional that you are. It's like, lighting the world on fire. A lot of guys need support for that. The survey found that 91% of married men had normal or better levels of mental positivity compared with 80% of single or unmarried men. Regionally, friendship is a particularly strong predictor of well-being for men in the West, like in California where I am, and the Northeast U.S., Boston, Philadelphia, all that area. While socializing through sports and healthy competition, keyword, was a strong indicator of well-being for men in the U.S. South. Made me think of, guys in Texas and their obsession with football and stuff like that. So, and there is a regional difference. We talk about regional differences with the guys in my practice about how I think I've noticed a pattern. It's harder for guys to make friends in L.A. than it is any other American city. L.A. has these weird spread out geographic things. It's got this obsession with appearance that's left over from the film industry. There's a lot of, economic disparity between the very, very rich and the very, very poor. So, LA is a tough town to make friends in, and that's one of the things I work with guys on. But, and going back to relationships, 91% of married men had normal or better levels of mental positivity compared to 80% of single or unmarried. So it shows you the value of relationships and the importance of dating. You don't have to have a partner in life, but surveys like this, and there's been other ones too about longevity, if you are partnered or married, it tends to coincide with physical and mental well-being. So working on your dating life through dating skills and, as I provide sometimes dating coaching and other materials on that, is an important thing. Cher said, "I've been rich, I've been poor. Rich is better." I would say that about myself. I've been married, I've been single. Married's better. Maybe I'm just lucky and got a great husband, but I would say in comparison, being married's better. However, that's not right for everybody, and sometimes you can't force that. It took me a long time before I found the right guy, and as the Supreme song said, you can't hurry love. So, the article goes on to say that there's a subset of men in positions of power, then some are on the forefront of change. But understanding general trends about men's well-being is key to understanding the changing face of masculinity and how to sustain progress in the fight for gender equality. If this study teaches us anything, it's that, by and large, American men, along with their peers in the UK, derive happiness not from traditional notions of power and strength, but from the typically quieter task of doing meaningful work and contributing to the communities around them. That's another part of my book of self-empowerment. Sorry, I did the plug again. But your role in your local community is actually a component of the life coaching pie and of your well-being. Being connected. It can be anything you want. It can be volunteer work. It can be patronizing local businesses. It can be just having a set of local friends that you hang out with. But being a part of your community, particularly, the neighborhoods of our country or of our world, tend to enhance gay men's well-being. Heinz Kohut is a theorist that I studied in grad school that I like. He talked about a concept called mirroring that said we need to see ourselves reflected in others and reflected back in order to enhance our well-being. So that's why it's important as a gay man to be with other gay men of all shapes and sizes and ages and races and all that stuff, and see how their well-being is reflected in you. I was talking to a client yesterday who's very, very professionally accomplished and really inspiring, and I said, it's important for you to talk to people because sometimes younger gay men who have been bullied and then they have a diminished sense of themselves, or they've been traumatized, it's important for them to be around healthy, happy, well-functioning, high-functioning gay men and gay male couples in order to give them a sense of hope of where they're going in their life, something, to strive for. And I think because this study, points to the importance of work, I do work with guys who are on long-term disability, and that's another whole topic about how does life have meaning when you're already retired, or if you're on disability and you really can't work. That's a little bit of a different topic, but it is about reward and about influence. So, maybe this kind of discussion will help you to reflect a little bit on yourself. What do you think about your work? What do you think about your professional identity and your professional role? I'm working with a guy now who kind of joined the family business, but he's kind of having some misgivings about that. He kind of wants to do something very different from what dear old dad did. And of course, dear old dad's pressuring him a little bit to carry on the legacy. But I kind of said to him, yeah, but what if you didn't? What if you lived your life according to what you think is right, not what a family legacy thinks is right? That's a very important question. And then, of course, our work could be, okay, now what does that look like? What would you have to, as the saying goes, do, believe, or allow? What would you have to do, believe, or allow in order to make the changes to your life, in his case, your professional life, that would increase, as Fessler and Berry say, the well-being of being a man? So, food for thought. Again, that article is called "The Strongest Predictor of Men's Well-Being Isn't Family or Health" from getpocket.com. You can Google that, or maybe Google Leah Fessler, Fessler, as the author, and we thank her for the quotes today. And I don't get an endorsement from Pocket, but we thank them too. We thank Pocket.com for inspiring this today. And I would encourage you to read other articles that inspire you. What are the inspirational sources that make you feel good about yourself and give you the energy and the inspiration to pursue your goals. Remember your self-empowerment. You have a right to pursue your life goals and dreams just like everybody else. And gay men sometimes don't always get that message. We get this message of, the hell with you. You're not good enough. You're just gay. You're not really a member of society. You don't have a place at our table. And we have to say, you know what? Screw that. We do so. And, and stand up for ourselves. What I call a healthy haughtiness. There's a place for that. So, double down on your own commitment to your own dreams and goals. And then sometimes a resource like therapy or coaching, can help you find where your own barriers are and where the setbacks to your own well-being or your own diminished sense of self are. If you're a trauma survivor, if you're an abuse survivor, if you just kind of taken a lot of crap in your life that you really didn't deserve, we need to find a way for you to overcome that and say, okay, where were we in pursuing my dreams and goals? Where were we? Let's get back to it, So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in therapy or coaching, therapy if you're in California, because that's where I'm licensed. If you're anywhere else, we're looking at calling it life coaching legally and ethically, and we can talk about what those differences are when we talk. And if you're interested in working with me, well, reach out. Phone number or text number is area code 310-339-5778. That's 310-339-5778. Or you can email me, ken@gaytherapyla.com. If you like this podcast, and I'm getting some nice feedback, a lot of you do, I really appreciate that. That's really thrilling. But, leave a review or some comments or some questions or some suggestions for future podcast episodes. I'd really like to see those. And would love to hear from you. So I hope you found this helpful, and try to do something today that acts on the inspiration in service to your dreams and goals, particularly about your professional self, trusting that when your professional self is developed, as we know from this research, your well-being is developed. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.